I'm Phil Spencer, and here we're going to be talking about the man who has got every club in the Championship wanting to sign him going into the January transfer window. Of course, we're talking about this fella, Louie Barry, the man who has absolutely torn it up in League One so far this term. His performances have been absolutely sensational, and that's led to Aston Villa having a real decision to make over his future as we move into the January transfer window and into the second half of the season. Now, before I get into that, Middlesbrough are a club who have been linked with Louie Barry. If you wait until the back end of the video, I'll go into to what Middlesbrough's stance is on a move for Louie Barry and whether that's likely to come off. But in the meantime, if you are enjoying these videos, please do hit like and hit subscribe as well. The support is really, really appreciated on the channel. But before that, we'll get into exactly who Louie Barry is, because for some people, he might not be a household name, but for those in League One, they know exactly what this lad is capable of. So a little run through in terms of who he is and where he's come from, I guess. So Louie Barry is 21 years of age. He started his career with West Brom, with their youth academy. He joined them age 6. Now, he made headlines a few years ago because he completed a move to Barcelona, which was just absolutely unheard of, and probably a little bit of a testament to just how quality a player he is and was and is going to be. Barry became the first English player to join La Masia, the famous youth academy system at Barcelona, the system that's produced incredible players along the years consistently. People like Lionel Messi and Xavi and Sergio Busquets, and if you look at the current day, you're looking at people like Pedri and those kind of Lamine Yamal as well, who is obviously the current golden boy of La Masia. And Louie Barry was part of that setup. He joined Barcelona back in 2019 after coming through with West Brom. He moved over to Barcelona, but his time with the Catalonian side was kind of curtailed by COVID. It took a little while for international clearance to come through for him to move over there, and then the following year, COVID started, and that wreaked havoc with his time over there. And so ultimately, he ended up only actually spending around about 6 months in Barcelona before he came back to England to join Aston Villa. Now, that short time in Barcelona, he did make an impression while he was over there. It certainly wasn't a case that his time in Barcelona didn't work out because he wasn't good enough or because his attitude wasn't right. It was purely a kind of situation where I guess with COVID, as we all remember so fondly, it was a situation where travel became very, very difficult to do. Holidays were getting cancelled. He was obviously on a visa over there to be playing over in Barcelona, and I think with the difficulties of it and the fact that he was still a young man and he was away from his family, the decision was made for him to come back to England to join Aston Villa. Aston Villa paid a significant fee to bring him back to England, and since then he's really sort of kicked on. In the time since then, he's obviously progressed through the setup with Aston Villa. Moved into their under-23s team. He's had loans with Ipswich and Swindon, MK Dons and Salford City before joining Stockport County. He joined them initially last season on a loan deal. Got to the end of the season, rejoined them again in the summer just gone, and my God, has he done incredibly in League One. I've got some friends who are supporters of clubs, various clubs in League One, and people who've seen him play this season are just really quite thankful, I guess, that his future is going to be away from League One, because he's just been so good this season. At the time of recording, you can see exactly what his stats are and why he's so highly rated. He's played 22 games for Stockport this season, scored 15 goals, grabbed 3 assists along the way. For a player who's 21 years of age, someone who predominantly plays off the left flank, just quite incredible numbers. He's been the best player in League One by an absolute mile. So far this season, he's just been absolutely brilliant, and that's exactly why so many clubs are coming in for him. It was always very clear just how high his ceiling was in terms of potential. You don't get a move to Barcelona unless you're an incredibly talented player. Aston Villa really rate him. The fact that so many clubs have come in and wanted to take him on loan before this is testament to just how good he is. But the fact that he's recording these kinds of numbers, taking no time at all to settle into League One, and showing exactly what he's capable of, that's exactly why he's in the situation that he is at the moment, where going into the January transfer window, there's going to be a lot of clubs who are wanting to sign him. So this is just a little bit of a deeper dive, I guess, into to what he's capable of and how well he's performed this season. As I've mentioned, primarily he plays off the left wing. He's right-footed, so he's someone who plays on the left flank but likes to cut inside and get a shot away. And something he's clearly done with a pretty resounding success this season to have recorded 15 goals already. But he's not a one-trick pony. He can play up front. He can also play as the number 10 as well. He's also a talented player. He can play on the right side as well, but it's been primarily on the left side where he's done so well. And you can also see these stats that have come via FOTMob in terms of his ability and just how well he's done for Stockport this season. So to put it into a bit of context, so the bar in green is how he's sort of ranked compared to other players in League One. So as you can see there, in terms of his goals, his expected goals, shots on target, expected assists, all of that, doing absolutely incredibly, right up near the top players in League One. And for one player to be leading the charts in so many different areas is quite remarkable, really. Sometimes you have players who are particularly good at getting shots away. They've got a really good conversion rate in terms of getting shots on target. But you very rarely kind of see it where a player is kind of so dominant across so many different areas. And again, that's exactly why he's so highly rated and why ultimately the decision's been made for him to potentially move on to another club in the January transfer window. So to bring you up to speed on what the next steps are for Louie Barry, there's been reports coming out over the last couple of weeks suggesting that Aston Villa were likely to recall him from his loan spell with Stockport, with a number of clubs in the Championship interested. That was confirmed a couple of days ago, with Stockport confirming that on New Year's Day he was going to be returning back to Aston Villa. That gives him the opportunity to play another couple of games before he leaves. Stockport are going to have a really big challenge to replace him or find someone who's capable of recording the same sorts of numbers. So I bet they'll be absolutely devastated that he's going to be going back to Villa Park. But what that does mean for him is that there's an opportunity there for him to step up another level and play in the Championship for the second half of the season. Now, there's been so many reports about clubs who are interested in signing Louie Barry. Leeds United are interested in him. Sunderland are interested. Derby, they're three of the more notable names. Middlesbrough have been heavily linked with a move for Louie Barry as well. It's a move that I personally thought was going to almost seemed almost certain to sort of happen, really. Such was the other noises coming out about this potential deal. Obviously, Middlesbrough have got an outstanding relationship with Aston Villa as well. There's been a lot of deals that have gone both ways over the last couple of seasons. You go back a couple of seasons to when Middlesbrough signed Cameron Archer and Aaron Ramsey on loan from Aston Villa. Obviously, Middlesbrough then sold Morgan Rogers to Aston Villa last January, and he's done okay, I guess you could say, since he moved to Aston Villa. No, he's done absolutely brilliantly. That was a huge success for both teams. It was a deal that everyone was happy with, in my opinion. Middlesbrough were happy to turn a pretty quick profit on a player who they'd only had for 6 months. Morgan Rogers got the opportunity to go to the club that he supported as a youngster and try and thrive in the Premier League, which he's done. And for Aston Villa, they got a player who joined for a really quite good fee, given just how well he's done in the 12 months since. He's now an England international. He's played in the Champions League. He's really, really emerging as a top-level Premier League player. So that's been a deal that's gone really well. Finn Azaz, he came to Middlesbrough last January as well. He'd been on loan with Plymouth. And he joined Middlesbrough on a permanent basis. So there's been lots of deals going between Middlesbrough and Aston Villa, and it seemed very much like Louie Barry was going to be the next one to do just that. But reports from the Northern Echo, from Dom Shaw, who was always so reliable with stories about Middlesbrough and Sunderland for that matter, he's reported that Middlesbrough are unlikely to pursue a deal for Louie Barry, who's returning to Aston Villa. Middlesbrough will be in the market for an attacking player in January. It does feel like that's going to be the case. There's a couple of, as Dom mentions in his tweet here, there's plenty of moving parts as things stand, which I'll go into in a second. But I think for Middlesbrough fans, it probably is a little bit of a surprise that it seems like Louie Barry's not going to be a priority in January. You can never say never. You never know exactly what's going to happen. From what I've seen and from how I know that Middlesbrough do business, it probably seems that Middlesbrough are kind of a little bit reluctant to get into a sort of war, I guess, with so many other clubs in the Championship interested in signing him. There's going to be a lot of interest in his services. There's going to be a lot of people trying to offer higher wage contributions and incentives to bring him to their club in the short term for the second half of the season. And perhaps Middlesbrough aren't wanting to get involved in that. I think there's also the argument that Middlesbrough's attacking unit at the moment is fairly settled, you've got to say. Middlesbrough are fairly well stocked in most positions across that front line, I guess. We've currently got two strikers in Latilath and Tommy Conway. On the right, we've got Izzy Jones and we've got Ben Doak. On the left, we've got Riley McGree and Delano Bergzorg. Number 10, we've got Finn Azaz, who I've just mentioned before. So there's a lot of competition for places there. And so for Louie Barry, I guess if he was to join Middlesbrough, he wouldn't be a guaranteed starter, which I think would be a kind of a potential issue for him. Such as his quality, he's going to be wanting to go somewhere where he's going to be playing regular first team football, where he's got the opportunity to score so many goals like he did with Stockport. And with Middlesbrough, quite simply, there's just going to be a lot of competition for places. So he would have a battle on his hands to get into the first team in the first place. And so that potentially could be why Middlesbrough aren't seeing it as a priority, because he might see his future elsewhere, I guess, in the second half of the season, somewhere where he's going to be playing regular first team football. As Don mentioned in that tweet, there's going to be plenty of moving parts for Middlesbrough going into January in the attacking areas. You've got to think about Emmanuel Latilath. His agent has been active again on social media, touting his client around for a move to the Premier League. And so I think at the moment you'd sort of be suggesting that it's probably fairly likely that he could move on in January, such are the noises that are coming out of his camp. So Middlesbrough may potentially have to react to that and sign another striker or sign another attacking player who can come in and replace him. We mentioned before about the competition on the right with Ben Doak. It's not out of the question that he could be recalled by Liverpool. It does seem unlikely. It does seem like Ben Doak will probably be here for the second half of the season. But that could then have a knock-on effect to Izzy Jones. There's been reports from Football League World this week that he's someone who could potentially leave Middlesbrough in January. So that wouldn't be a surprise either if that was to happen. There's question marks about Riley McGree as well. So there are a few different I suppose, like factors at play in Middlesbrough's attacking line. I think going into the January transfer window and looking towards the back end of the window and coming out of it, I think as a Middlesbrough fan, you just want this squad to stay as close to what it is at the moment. Really, you don't want Middlesbrough to be losing more players than they need to. It does feel like there might be at least one high-profile exit in January. I think Middlesbrough would be reluctant to lose more than that during the month. And obviously, any player who leaves would need to be replaced. Middlesbrough's squad of 25 is currently at maximum full capacity. So there's no room to sign a player unless someone was to leave. So I think it very much would be a case of one out, one in for Middlesbrough in terms of any transfer business that they do in January. And that could be a factor in this as well. If someone does leave like Latilath, it means that Middlesbrough would be going out to sign a replacement. But as I said, with someone like Louie Barry, who's going to be available from day one, there's going to be a lot of interest in his services. A lot of clubs who will be interested in him from day one won't be necessarily wanting to wait until the back end of January, which Middlesbrough could be in the situation to do. But also clubs who would be willing to offer him far greater I suppose that guarantees a first team football. I think Sunderland would be able to offer him a more consistent role in their starting 11. Derby, if they were interested, I think they would certainly. I think he would be their star player really going into the second half of the season. So a lot of interest in Louie Barry. You can't rule it out that Middlesbrough would make a move for him. That interest has been genuine, and it is something that Middlesbrough are looking to do. It is an area of the pitch that Middlesbrough will be looking to strengthen if they can in the January transfer window. But as it stands at the moment, as you can see from Dom Shaw, it seems highly unlikely that Middlesbrough will pursue a January move for Louie Barry, with the likelihood being that he'll go to somewhere else in the Championship. In the hope of ripping it up like he has done at Stockport. So I really want to hear from you. I want to hear what you think about Louie Barry as a player. I want to hear from you with regards to whether Middlesbrough should make a move to sign him in January. Could he be the missing piece of the jigsaw as Middlesbrough look to challenge for promotion? Comment below. Let me know what you think of Louie Barry and whether Middlesbrough should be signing him, or if not him, who should Middlesbrough be going out to sign? Comment below, hit like on the video, and if you have enjoyed this as well, hit subscribe as well, because there's going to be a lot more coming over the coming weeks with things really starting to heat up as the January transfer window approaches. Catch you later.